and thank you, Alex and Dominic, to join me on stage. Topic now is seeing is actionable. I think we had a great conversation about visibility, but I think it's also a good example of where the industry as a whole hasn't been keeping the end in mind. Because in the end, visibility is not like the destination, it's only the beginning of the journey. So I'm happy to have here with me Dominic from BayWa, who is Head of Global Supply Chain and Logistics, and also Alexander from Northvolt, Vice President Supply Chain Management. So before we kick it off, it would be great if you can both explain a bit more about yourself and about the company. Good. I think who is next?
Okay, then, Jonathan, thank you for the intro and thank you for the opportunity having us and sharing also our picture and our journey from a BayWa RE point of view. Maybe a few words about the company, because I can imagine it's also not the company everybody immediately has associations with what we are doing. So BayWa RE is a company in renewable energy. So RE stands for renewable energies, and we are part of the BayWa group. And within BayWa RE, you have a business unit which is called Solar Trade, and this is what we talk about here. And we are one of the global leaders when it comes to PV and solar distribution. And we are very strong in Europe, but also serving markets in the Americas and APAC. And on the one hand, the business is extremely simple. On the other side, the beauty comes with the complexity sometimes when global supply chains get into some challenges. So in the end, our business is really a distribution business, meaning we are buying and sourcing material. Vast majority of the materials we are sourcing from Asia, photovoltaic modules, lithium-ion batteries, inverters, and racking and construction material. And then we are distributing this to our markets in EMEA, APAC, and the Americas. And we have developed over the last years a quite strong network of fulfillment centers. So we are operating close to 70 distribution centers, a surface of 750,000 square meters. And the business was rapidly growing, as you can imagine. And with a team of 1,400 people, we are working on a quite nice passion, mission. And in the end, it's all about, for our planet, to bring solar literally everywhere. Our customers are residential installing companies, but also commercial and industry customers. So everybody who is looking for a PV system today, I know that it's sometimes hard to get something. You can call me, I won't help you, but I can probably help you to find somebody who can help you. But I promise nothing. Yeah, and the business is in an extremely nice shape and in a quite momentum now. And for us, the biggest challenge is literally to become the supply chain for solar to really boost and foster energy transition. So for us, from a supply chain point of view, the reason to be here is to be the most convenient supply chain of choice for our vendors, and on the other side, to be the most convenient channel to buy PV systems from a customer point of view. And then this just on a map, because it's quite a global business. Again, strong in the EMEA region, but also really growing in the Americas. We just did an acquisition in Brazil, and also APAC is quite an important growth market for us. Then a few words about myself. So what I am contributing to this nice story, or better, what my team is contributing to this nice story. So I'm global head of supply chain and logistics in the business. I was joining the company just last year. So before I was 12 years spending in the process industry, complete different business, also different focus points. And I'm 15 years starting at logistics service providers, process industry, and now I'm enjoying the renewable space, which is everything faster, more dynamic, and what I was used to do in 5 years in the process industry, here we do better in 12 months. And here you see also a little bit the areas of our focus areas, which we put together as a supply chain transformation program. I think most of you can relate to the topics there. So it's planning. Planning is quite crucial because our key issue is synchronizing demand and supply, making sure that the volatilities on the supply side from Asia are balanced out when it comes to the target market, and the political environment in all the different countries is also giving quite a challenge, because there is a decision in a country and then all of a sudden you have a boost in something or again a counter development. And then you see a lot of things where probably most of the people in supply chain have some projects, some initiatives. And on the bottom, you see digitalization. And that's on purpose. Yeah? I'm not here, I'm not a fan of digitalization for the sake of digitalization. So I'm more thinking towards digital-enabled transformation. So we need to think about what to do. We are overwhelmed with nice solutions, Transporeon, and plenty of other solution providers. So for us, it's super important to make a clever choice what to do when. And in the end, for a customer journey, a user story, but in the end, to add value and not to make the process even more complex by adding another piece of technology.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much for the introduction. Maybe Alex, you can tell us a bit more about yourself.
Sure. Can you give me the...
Yeah, sure.
Right. All right. I'm Alex. I'm from Northvolt. We are a kind of a battery manufacturer, a startup at scaling. My role there is supply chain management. So I'm heading planning, logistics, procurement for material components, procurement for equipment, which is quite important to us since we are building quite a lot of factories, procurement of constructions. And we also run a kind of an excellence team to support our scaling, since this is quite substantial, and I will speak a bit more about that. What you see in the back here is, and this maybe is also kind of a difference where we are on the journey in Europe versus a lot of our competitors. This is our gigafactory up in Skellefteå, which is 200 kilometers south of the Arctic Circle. Why do we build a plant somewhere in the middle of nowhere up in Sweden? It's because of renewable electricity. So there is plenty of electricity available to us. There are also other green industry startups building there, like H2 Green Steel, for example. And we need a lot of electricity in our process, and that's why we are putting our manufacturing footprint into renewable grids. So this factory is about 500 meters long, and the total site is about 3 kilometers. And that's going to be full with buildings and equipment by 2027. And we have altogether 3 more of those factories in the pipeline, so to say. So the venture for supply chain is quite substantial. What is our DNA? We want to build the greenest battery, and we're a good path to it. And a lot of that is based on circular economy. By 2030, we aim to feed about 50% of our raw materials out of recycling. We build our own recycling process. We have developed it. We build our own recycling plants for that. This vertical integration, this includes actually the cathode manufacturing and the cell assembly. It also differentiates us for now from a lot of other players, helps us to control more of the manufacturing process and the related footprint. European leadership, we are a bit ahead than most of the others in Europe, and we are proud of it, but we are also acknowledging that there are quite a number of other startups, but also a lot of the OEMs are entering the cell making landscape. And finally, it's about the industry-leading technology. We have just announced, together with Scania, one of our major customers, that our cells can make up to 1.5 million kilometers on an electric truck, which is quite interesting, I would believe, also for this community here. So we are in a good way of electrification of the entire industry. 6 years since inception, pretty good order book, mainly automotive OEMs. We also do electric storage systems in the grid mainly. About 9 billion of capital raised so far, which we need for all our constructions of the facilities, and 5,000 employees. That's why I'm saying not really a startup anymore. So there are 3 important elements around why we will be sustainable in what we're doing. The recycling element, the sourcing element, quite important. We don't just buy where we can get it. We really control the supply chain into the mine. So we have selected the mine according to sustainability criteria to buy from those mines to incorporate those metals into our products. And our manufacturing actually also includes a lot of, let's say, factors, also going beyond carbon footprint. For example, one of the byproducts in cathode manufacturing is a salt, which is typically disposed of in the sea by a lot of our competitors, and we actually upcycle it. So we run an extra process in our factory to use it in the fertilizer industry. So this entire concept around our manufacturing and what we are doing is really aiming at reducing the global impact. Now, supply chain, we are in a pretty competitive environment with automotive OEMs, being our main customers. Also, we acknowledge that a lot of the competition comes out of Asia, not only on our cells, but also from our customers. Let's say competition. You might have read the recent announcement about the EU investigating China imports of EVs. So this is kind of the ecosystem in which we are working. So competitiveness from the very beginning is a very important factor to us. Industrialization, now building all these plants I've shown you, is a challenge in itself, but we also build the supply chain. We can't rely on the existing manufacturers. Everything needs to be built new. So we have quite a number of suppliers which we localized already in Sweden, and one of the recent announcements was a kind of a 1.5 billion investment of a graphite manufacturer in Sweden, which basically supports us with their graphite manufacturing. And that means also we are pushing our suppliers into renewable grids and sustainable production, since we only can achieve our own targets when our supply chain is compliant too. Finally, sustainability, as I said, super important across everything what we are doing. And we have a lot of challenges, the challenges everybody has right now, but in this phase where we are having kind of a hyper growth, it's a bit of an additional piece of challenge, I would say. But so far, we are prepared and we are moving. And this is a little bit what it means from a logistics point of view. So currently, we are estimating around 5 to 8,000 40-foot equivalent this year, but we will be scaling up to 230,000. And from the mix, it's inbound materials, which will come more and more local, less from Asia. It's outbound cells to our customers, but it's also, and this continues until 2030, a significant amount of project business, bringing equipment into our plants and ramping them up with all the required environments. And therefore, it's super important that we scale this smartly. We can't proportionally grow with the organization. So we need to deploy digitization and end-to-end integration in order to be successful. And that's, I think, visibility is one part of it, what we're going to speak about today.
Perfect, thank you. So I think very two interesting companies, because they're like paving the world for a better, or paving the way for a better world, basically, both from a Northvolt perspective. You like this startup. I think a lot of startup would be jealous with the numbers that you have just shown. So it's a pretty impressive growth, I would say. And also for BayWa, I mean, it's like a very complex supply chain with different modes and different transportation flows, also for Northvolt. Before we dive into because we talked about in the previous sessions about visibility. Visibility is important, but it's not the end goal. But before we dive deeper into this, what would visibility mean for you? Because it's a word with many meanings. Depending on who you ask it, you get like different answers. So maybe Dominic, to start with you, what would be for you like visibility, just in a few words? What does it mean for you?
It's nice. No, it's literally visibility is everywhere, and I don't know, probably a lot of people have same experience. I don't know, I get 10 or more emails every week from companies trying to sell a visibility solution. Yeah, so it's plenty of visibility everywhere, social media, so you need to be careful what to do, because tomorrow it's visible. So everything is visible, but I think it's more the question what you do about it. And this is also what I mentioned is it's super crucial to make a choice. Yeah, so like data, visibility is, I think, the next point where you can also end up in a mess if you don't think about what you want to make visible and why, and what are you actioning about it. And again, it need to start with the process. I would never answer one of these mails because it's a nice product. So first think about what you need in the business, what you want to achieve, and then there are plenty of solutions who can probably help on the tech side. Then it's more a question of strategy. Do you want to have 20 different applications, or are you looking for an integrator? But starting with the end in mind is more important. But visibility is nice, yeah.
Yeah, we sometimes say indeed that visibility doesn't bring you any value at all unless it's integrated within your operations. So maybe, Alex, can you give maybe a bit more input on how you would see that the next step? Visibility is just like part of the journey, but what would be the end state for you? What would be the integrated perfect solution for you? especially given the fact that you have so many different transportation flows going from project logistics towards inbound flows coming from everywhere. What would be for you like the ideal state?
Yeah, I fully agree. I think visibility is a kind of prerequisite, and then it's more about, okay, what do you do with the visibility, and what kind of conclusions do you draw, and what kind of decisions do you drive with it? I think all these kind of real-time integrations, I would say they should be a given, but unfortunately, it's not as easy as we all believed, and a lot of this was already on the table, whatever, 15, 20 years ago, but we're still struggling on getting this done. I think we need to solve that, especially like for companies like us with that exponential growth. We need to get this right, because otherwise we won't be able to manage whatever we have. And I think also for a lot of other companies, the demographic challenges we have with just less people being available to handle these kind of things, I think that's something technology really need to manage, and I sincerely hope we are solving that. But if you ask me what is the kind of the end state, I think we need to check and we need to speak to the people who in their day-to-day operations actually handle all that data. Where do they multiple times add the same type of information? Where does it come from? How can it better be integrated? What is their user journey in a day, and how can we simplify their lives? Because that will ultimately drive our target picture. And I strongly believe in user centricity and all that, because that will also make these kind of jobs more attractive. And it's not about handling operations, it's not about handling transactions, it's more about in the future of handling exceptions. So I mean, like you get your 100 emails a day and you would love to understand what are the most important ones. I think everybody who is involved in this operationally would love to understand, okay, where do I really have to put my attention, and where is it worth now investing my time?
So is it then fair to say that visibility is like adding context to your operational processes, hence also to the people that on a daily basis need more information?
Yeah, it's the context, but it's also the differentiation between valuable information and useful information and just information which is kind of an attribute to a piece of like a container or a box or whatsoever. It's really important to make that more visible. And this is where I believe where machine learning or AI or whatsoever could probably come in to help people really directing at their problems, which they might not even have seen. So it's more also about this kind of time dimension, not only in the, okay, where are we in the shit now, it's also about where will we be potentially in the shit.
It's looking more into the future then. And adding to that, maybe Dominic, because you also have like very complex transportation flows ranging from FTL, LTL, parcel flows. So how would you see that combination, or how would you see visibility being part of your operational systems or operational processes within your current operations?
I'm not starting looking at the different modes of transport or the complexity. I think the question is where are you taking a decision in your organization which has impact? So when I look at our organization, our key issue is getting material from Asia, and the key question is, do I have my material on time, on stock? Can I cover the next sales orders, and so on? So our customers would like to have it on time. We would like to manage inventories, don't have excess of safety stock. So there's an optimization area. And then if it's an inbound vessel transport, if it's a container, if it's a rail transport, I don't care. But I need to know if it's on time or not. And if it's the risk of delay, I better know it before, and so on. And that's all super important, because the better this is streamlined, the more straight I can go with my supply chain planning. So inventory optimization is all the matter. Accuracy is good to optimize inventories, but it's no problem to work without visibility. You just need to have higher safety stock. Of course, has huge impact, so we want to avoid. But it's not about modality or something like this. From a planning point of view, you don't care. It's an ETA, it's an estimated time of arrival, and that need to be as accurate as possible. And then in the last years, you have seen all these issues with a changing world, and then you have all these disruptions, and you were not talking anymore about a day delay, but a month or two, and then even you stop talking about delay, you just get what you get. So I think during this period, all businesses learned also to work with a hell, or in a hell environment where you say, I can trust nothing. But then business gets adapting. And what you have seen now, huge warehouses has been created to handle massive buffer warehouse capacity and stock. So this needs to change back again. And what do you need to do is to adapt, and to adapt you need to have visibility. But I think it's not the question which mode of transport and so on, just getting, but important is where are you taking a decision? Where is it touching your supply chain process?
Yeah.
And then my experience is then it's reducing to 1, 2, 3 key events in your supply chain. And then you should concentrate and looking for a solution to fit it.
Yeah. And maybe if you then look at because what you're also mentioning is that you need to have everything in one place. You need to have like all the information in one system ideally, so you can see what is happening instead of having like one system with the what has been planned and then another system with what is happening at the moment. So I think that's also an important element of combining those into one operational system.
Absolutely, and this is where we have been using. So I was talking about our inbound side, but at the same time, our customer even is not so interested in what's happening on their side. They are more about, I have placed you an order when it's arriving at my construction site. And there as well, we have a combination of full truckloads, but a lot business in LTL and groupage. And it's the same from the customer point of view. The customer should not care if it's a parcel with DHL, UPS, or if it's a full truckload with a European carrier. And we want to put it into one platform. So what we are taking the ownership of the process on the one hand to have a single point of visibility for our customers, and at the other side we need to take ownership to get our supply chain fed with a single point of visibility for our supply chain planners. And in the end, because we are a distributor, so we said this is the area where we need to take ownership, and then we are looking for solutions to get it together. Then if it's a parcel and shift, LTL integration is always a little bit tricky. FTL is straightforward.
Yeah.
But there is exactly where we need to find and work out these solutions.
Yeah. And maybe, Alex, because on your side it's also, you have a lot of intercompany flows, so you have some flows coming from one factory to the other one. So that's also a part of visibility. It's not just about the customer, the end customer, it's also about the internal customer. Can you maybe explain a bit how the value of having that internal visibility on intercompany flows, for example, how that would benefit the organization?
I mean, for me, it doesn't make any difference whether it's a material which is either incoming to my operations from another factory, which is part of our network, or whether that's an external supplier. I think that should apply the same logic. I mean, what most probably will be super important for us is that we have or enable some kind of shared inventories. We will be buying from the same suppliers across multiple plants. And this is why we also drive now for kind of a planning activity which happens above the plant. But then we also don't want to generate, I mean, we want to generate an optimization of our inventories. If you produce at gigascale, you ultimately also might end up in gigascale inventories. And having cells, and this is a kind of a specificity of the product, it rests like 2 weeks at the end of the manufacturing process in the formation and aging process. So that's quite a lot of working capital already. So we need to optimize that. But back to your question, for me, it doesn't really matter whether it's an internal customer, an external customer, or whether it's an internal supplier, an external supplier.
Yeah.
All that needs to be fully integrated. But back to the question, I think what is super important, I believe we will have much more intermodal, let's say, transportation. And in our case, since we do project business, we have out of gauge, we have general cargo. But we also need to know what's in a general cargo if we ship some equipment. Really, how granular do we know what's in that specific cargo? Because it might also be part of a broader equipment which needs to be capitalized, and we want to understand, do we have everything to drive this? So it's a lot of interdependencies, not only from a purely logistics point of view, but also with financial systems.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I was also wondering, because if you look at visibility has quite a broad meaning. It can be visibility on in-transit shipments, but as you both your companies are like moving the world into a more sustainable place, I was also wondering what visibility would mean for you in the context of sustainability. So maybe within CO2 emissions and so on. How is that being blended into the equation of making visibility actionable?
I can answer this. I see sustainability even a little bit wider than just CO2 emission, to be honest. I have no doubt. So with GLAC framework, Global Logistics Emission Framework, so the work is done. And in Transporeon, you probably can put formulas in, and then you do calculation like you have a rating, next to the cost of a shipment, the CO2 emission. So I trust this will be quite available in due time. But looking at it from a sustainability point of view, also visibility, I think also looking at it, which is also quite relevant for our business from a supply chain point of view, meaning supply chain sustainability and also compliance. So are we managing our upstream supply chain risks and not only on-time sustainability, but what's happening upstream? What is our tier 1, tier 2 supply? What's happening in Asia? And there are also some visibility solutions looking at the questions now far beyond CO2 emission, etc. And then sustainability for me is also capturing upstream supply chain and taking responsibility there. And this altogether goes into compliance and making a business resilient and also a trustworthy business. So, and I think their visibility is still starting to extend visibility concepts even far beyond what we talked today about ETAs, accuracy, arrivals, etc. So what's really going up upstream, and then trying to anticipate. But CO2 emission reporting, I'm pretty sure, CO2 accounting, there are so many things discussed today, which will be very standard tomorrow. And then for us, again, we are looking for solution partners because we cannot afford now, we have a super challenging agenda. So we are also looking for solution partners where we can trust they take us and they help us to find out what makes sense, also in the consulting, or not consulting, but partnership discussion. So what could be helpful for our issues. And then companies like Transporeon can help us also adapting what's working elsewhere nicely. And I'm pretty sure next year we will talk about logistics emission reporting.
Yeah. And I think that's also one of the powers of having a platform, a digital backbone, as Stefan said, because it's not just about sharing visibility or sharing shipment. It's also about sharing CO2 emission data, primary data, and so on. So that will be a very important element in the near future, indeed. Looking at time, I just want to open up to the wider audience if you have any questions, any remarks. Somebody wants to start? We have one question over there. Yeah, the mic is coming just behind you.
Very, very impressive. Nice businesses, I'd say. So keep going. We need your products. Just a general question. How much of your time is put into a Scope 3 emission reduction strategy within your procurement departments?
So how much? Sorry.
On your Scope 3, what's your Scope 3?
Oh yeah, I mean, I can speak a bit about what we are doing. So currently, a battery cell, when it's imported out of Asia, is about 100 kilogram of CO2. With our manufacturing footprint in renewable grids, we are currently at 30 to 40. Also looking at our supplier structure, so basically we're 70% lower already. But the balance we need to get actually out of the Scope 3 emissions. And Scope 3 for us is still a lot in the materials. So I'm working now with my team on localizing whatever copper foil suppliers in Europe, graphite suppliers in Europe on the respective grids. And that's part of our, let's say, long-term agreements we are doing with material suppliers that they need to basically go in on at least CO2 or carbon-free grids, so to say. So that's quite important. And on the transportation side of things, I mean, our product is super energy intense, so that makes about 3% right now. But the more we have actually captured already on the materials and manufacturing side, the more substantial that proportion becomes of our balance. So it's definitely in focus, and we're working on it. So we work on a lot of different angles, also on the transportation procurement in developing, for example, let's say block train options to go from Sweden into Germany whenever we're in steady state to avoid any kind of, let's say, trucking of our materials.
But I think that's still a big issue because the answer is difficult, I think, to give. We are working on quite nice projects. We have a big new warehouse which will open next year in the Netherlands, So on the concept paper, it would be fantastic to have an electronic vessel going from Rotterdam to the area and so on. Only green trucks, only electric trucks, feed with solar from the roof. That's all nice, but the reality is often still not there. And then you have all these discussions about what finally should be the shippers or the industry role in this decarbonization of transport. So who's doing what in this insetting, carbon insetting, offsetting. So these are still difficult where the environment is not so clear to take really decisions. But let's say it will be electrification of short distance transports. We are building already infrastructure where we have a new warehouse. It's a green warehouse with the ability to fuel. But I think insetting, offsetting, these discussions need to happen. How does this will lead into accounting and CO2 emission accounting? Interesting questions. Super curious to hear other ideas.
Thank you. Any other questions from the audience? Now is the time. Nobody? I would like to really thank you, both of you, for this interesting panel. Oh, we have one question, sorry.
Yeah, hello, my name is René Reinhardt from Reinhardt Logistics. We are 500 trucks and road transportation. And my question is, what is your experience with carriers and also your expectations and these things? The visibility, for example, and yeah, what we can do better. Or also the question, is there big differences between the companies? For example, small companies, big companies? Yeah.
So first of all, yes, there are huge differences in the European transport market for sure. And I don't like to talk about carriers. For me, it's just a partner in the ecosystem. And we are working with Transporeon in order to find a platform to help the conversation. Yeah? So in the end, we are also choosing for a certain module where the carriers are even, or the transport companies are even not paying. I want to also avoid that there's a discussion about cost of this. It should be really a collaboration platform. And expectation for the transport market is let's try to get it done. So my main concern is now with this economic situation that there is now a period where there's again pressure in the economy. So the whole driver issue currently is a little bit out of the discussion. So it's just a matter of time, and this will kick us all together quite hard. So I think we should also emphasize let's not lay back now, because now it's a convenient time for transport buyers. But the boomerang is already on its way. So they are raise their hands and flag that there is still a big issue.
Yeah. It may be interesting to turn around the question also. How is your perspective from the other side of the equation, from the partner, the carrier side of the equation, in regards to visibility?
Yeah, the big word is all the time partnership. And we saw the picture in the morning, from the crocodile. So it's sometimes like that, And at the moment we feel also the big pressure in the market. Since some months we are just talking about prices, and it's really hard for us. Especially for us, we have the biggest LNG fleet in Germany. We have around 400 LNG trucks. In the meantime, with 50% bio-LNG, regional produced. So it's also for us a big step. But there was 15 months was a big gas crisis in Europe, and you know that, and this was a really hard time for us. And the feeling is we go from crisis to crisis. So, this is the biggest problem. So, this partnership and also this long-term view, what you say now with the drivers and all these things. If we are always under pressure, we cannot work on all the things what we have to work. Especially the driver. Things it's really important, to find also together a solution. Everybody know now what happened in Germany now is this big strike, or what is strike in English? I don't know. What
strike?
Strike. With this Polish company, so it should not happen like that, But this is the reality in Europe, and especially in Germany. It's like a little bit last 10 years like Wild West, There's a lot of gray zones. And this is makes also for the serious companies sometimes a little bit difficult to stay alive, you know. So partnership and go together to the future would be the big thing. And I think it's the only way for both sides, you know, to be successful and find solutions for all the things. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe let me add to it here, because I mean, I think everybody solves a lot of problems within their domain. So I think what is super important in these kind of partnerships is that there is agility in what you're doing as a carrier, as a shipper, as whatsoever, and that you bring proactively, and that you also see what might be coming up, right? I mean, this demographics topic isn't something we all know about, so let's not wait for this thing to hit us. So we need to become much more anticipating potential issues, and I mean, technology can help, but also being proactive in whatever your operation, and not basically following on and reacting to these kind of incidents. I believe that's super important for all of us if we want to survive in this ever dynamic world.
I think indeed agility will be one of the key components of surviving this complex world, I would say, indeed, yeah. Okay, great. So looking at time, let's end with the notes, basically that partnership is super important. One day we can be the crocodile, the other day we can be the bird, and we need to focus on the future and on the agility. So thank you very much, Alex, thank you, Dominic, and thank you.
Thank you.